On April 22, 2006, a CSX intermodal train was making its way through Georgia. This train had 4 locomotives on the head end, with an interesting consist. With CSX 7672 leading a C40-8W in the YN2 paint scheme, LTEX 8532 and SD40T-2, formerly built for the Southern Pacific as Southern Pacific 8532, CSX 8038 and SD40-2 in the YN2 paint scheme, formerly Seaboard System 8038, and finally BNSF-944CW 4801. Behind 4801 was lots of intermodal cars, fully loaded and double stacked. And as they were making their way through Newnan, Georgia, they came across an obstacle. A truck had flattened out on the tracks. This has happened so many times in the U.S., and it's a very difficult problem to just stop. And this is one such case. The CSX intermodal was closing in fast. The tires were elevated because the crossing was elevated to go over the tracks. However, the truck was a low boy, and it had flattened out, causing the tires to be elevated and not being able to move. Since it had flattened out, it was just not possible to move it out of the way with such little time they had with the CSX intermodal closing in. The CSX intermodal notices the truck, blowing the horn and hitting the brakes. However, with great effort, the truck was not moved off the tracks in time, and the train did not stop. '7672 drags the lowboy, tearing the tracks under it. Then the rear end of 7672 come off the track and it starts leaning to the right. It drags 8532 and the rest of the train off the tracks as well. 8532 ended up on its side, causing damage to the lower half of its right side. 8038 remained upright and caused damage to the under part, while 4801 had an intermodal crash to the left side of its cab, destroying it. After the intermodals crash through the cab of 4801, they start piling up on the right side of the tracks. The rest of the train follows as well, and some of the containers fall off of their flatbeds. CSX 7672 was repaired and put back into service. 8532 was repaired and put back into service, but was retired and will probably never run again. 8038 was repaired and put back into service with CSX, but in its later years it was rebuilt into SD40-3 4014. 4801 was damaged beyond repair and scrapped after the intermodals crashed through its nose and cab and destroyed it completely. And then came the question, how did this freak accident happen? How did so many locomotives and cars end up on the ground? It didn't take long to find out. Coming to 7672, and they see that part of a truck, more specifically lowboy, lay right in front of 7672, seemed to have been dragged. This pointed the blame directly at the truck for attempting to cross the tracks, but then end up flattening out, not knowing the knowledge that you should not cross that crossing because of its elevation. The truck had flattened out and was balanced in the middle like a seesaw and couldn't move. And the tires, they were in the air, and since they weren't on the ground, they couldn't actually make a difference and couldn't cause the truck to start moving again. And the only way that they could have got the truck off the tracks was moving it or weight distribution, which are both really hard, especially to pull off in a limited time with a train coming your way.